How are you going to stop them?
Well, by far, the preferable way to do it would be through diplomacy. Where we are now is not in a good place. Iran, because the nuclear agreement was thrown out, instead of being at least a year away from having the breakout capacity of producing fissile material for a nuclear weapon, is now probably 1 or 2 weeks away from doing that.
Some other things are coming out, like the shooter had 3 encrypted accounts overseas. At the same time, we're having an Iranian plot. So, I mean, I think this is going to go much broader, much deeper.
This is my video update on this Sunday evening, July the 21st. Let's talk about some news, and let's start things off with more escalation in the Middle East. We have Blinken, as I reported yesterday, saying that in 2 weeks Iran will have nuclear weapons, it'll have nukes or a dirty bomb or something. Blinken really didn't get into any of the specifics, but speaking at the Aspen Institute think tank forum summit event, whatever it's called, Blinken said that in 2 weeks, that's it, Iran has a nuclear weapon. You also had J.D. Vance during the RNC talking about how the United States has to hit Iran hard. He didn't really get into any details there. And Fox News was talking about hitting Iran and Iran nukes and stuff like that. WMDs, maybe we are seeing a rerun of WMDs, huh? Possible. It would be an interesting distraction for the Uniparty, wouldn't it? For the Biden White House, for the Democrat Party, and for the Uniparty, if they put together some sort of WMD scare before the elections. Anyway, that is what is happening with Iran and Yemen and Israel. Well, things are escalating very quickly. Yemen, they sent a drone into Tel Aviv. They hit downtown Tel Aviv, from what I understand. The American Embassy office was just 10 or 20 meters away from where this drone hit. One person died, and I believe 7 or 8 casualties from this drone strike. And yesterday, Israel, they launched airstrikes into Yemen, and they hit a power station and I believe an oil storage facility. And today we are getting news that Yemen is going to retaliate to Israel's retaliation. So things are escalating. And it makes you wonder what all of the Biden White House, Sullivan, Blinken diplomacy, what was it all for? All the diplomacy that they were engaged in over the last 6 or 8 or 9 months in the Middle East. What has it accomplished when we continue to escalate? We move closer and closer to a bigger and wider war. And for the last 8-9 months, Blinken and Sullivan, they were running around the Middle East talking about de-escalating and getting to some sort of a ceasefire. They accomplished nothing. They accomplished absolutely nothing, those two. But hey, they're the wonder boys, the whiz kids of foreign policy. Antony Blinken and Jake Sullivan. So escalation between Israel and Yemen. And Yemen continues to hit ships that are moving through the Red Sea. That hasn't stopped. Remember Lloyd Austin's Operation, I don't even know what he called it. Operation something. I forgot. It rhymes with I rhymed it with the song OPP. What did I rhyme it with? With OPP, I think. Operation Protective something. Remember that? And then the EU, they had Operation Aspida. I remember that because it's Greek, Aspida. But yeah, remember that? Oh boy, I can't do a one-handed pull-up. No chance. But yeah, they had all of these cool named, cool operations, all named. The U.S. had OP something, and the EU had Operation Aspida, and this was going to stop Yemen from hitting the ships that were moving through the Red Sea. What a load of bullocks that was, huh? It didn't stop Yemen at all. And now you have Jake Sullivan talking about giving permission to Ukraine to hit Russian territory pre-2014 with ATACMS missiles. And Russia's obvious retaliation to that, as I mentioned yesterday in my video, would be to give Yemen some missile tech. So it's all spiraling out of control in the Middle East, courtesy of the Biden White House. So let's talk about Project Ukraine, because Project Ukraine is all kinds of mixed messages. We're getting all kinds of mixed messages for Project Ukraine. Yeah, we are getting Cavoli, who is the U.S. NATO chief. He is saying that Ukraine is winning. Actually, he's saying the force. Cavoli is saying that the force is with Ukraine. The force is with Elensky. Use the force, Elensky. Yeah, that is what Cavoli is saying. The force is with Ukraine. No joke. This is not a joke. We have CNN saying that Elensky is screwed. He is facing, what did CNN say? He is facing a double whammy. A double whammy. That is what Elensky is facing. Not a single whammy, but a double whammy. And I was just thinking, what movie was it where they were selling whammy burgers? What movie was it? God, I forgot the movie. And it was a whammy burger. I'm forgetting my cinema, my classic 80s, 90s movie knowledge. A whammy burger. Anyway, Ukraine is facing a double whammy, according to CNN. And Boris Johnson, he now has a plan for victory and for peace. Not only a plan for victory, but he has a plan for peace, according to Boris Johnson. He wrote an article for the Daily Mail. And Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev, he is talking about a referendum to give up land to Russia in order to get to a peace in Ukraine. So let's go over these mixed messages, mixed reporting from the collective West. Let's start with Cavoli. What did Cavoli say? The NATO general claims Ukraine has great war strategy. According to Cavoli, in modern warfare, one either wins fast and up front, or is stuck for a long slog full of unpredictable twists and turns, which is the case in the Ukraine conflict. A lot of it's going to come down to force generation capability. Told you guys, force. Which side can generate force fastest and take advantage of that while they have a window of opportunity, he stated, saying that this is what Kiev has been doing for the past few months. I think that they've got a great strategy. It is just a matter of prosecuting it, he stated, stressing that force generation, or figuring out how best to use men, training, and weapons is key to securing victory. He praised Kiev's recent mobilization efforts and said that weapons deliveries from the West are also proceeding well. Has Cavoli seen the videos coming out of Ukraine, coming out of Odessa, with regards to the mobilization efforts? In Odessa, they are burning the vans, the cars of the mobilization guys. I think they're called the TCC. They're burning their vans. That's how upset people are with the mobilization efforts. It's not going well at all, Cavoli. What information is Cavoli getting? What information are they feeding this guy for him to say that mobilization is going well? But yeah, it's all about the force. You see? Force generation. Ukraine has an advantage in the force. The force. Force generation capabilities. Whatever that means. Whatever that means. Let's see. Reuters yesterday, they reported that after a very thorough, deep investigation, this is Reuters, they said that the collective West will never catch up to Russia when it comes to artillery shell production. That is what Reuters said. Reuters also reported that Japan is unable to produce Patriot missiles because of supply chain issues. Japan was going to produce 30 Patriot missiles this year, and they were trying to ramp up to 60, but they can't because of supply chain problems. This is from Reuters, exclusive. U.S.-Japan Patriot missile production plan hits Boeing component roadblock. So Russia has the advantage in weapons, the advantage in weapons production, the advantage in artillery, and it is an attrition war, the advantage in air defense. Russia is mobilizing 1,000 volunteers every day, according to Medvedev, and these volunteers are being trained for up to a year. Russia has the advantage in manpower. The mobilization is not going well for Ukraine, while Russia is getting 1,000 new volunteers every day, and they are being trained much longer and much better than Ukraine. The Russian economy is surging. The Ukraine economy is about to default come August 1st. The collective West has been completely demilitarized. They can barely produce 60 Patriot missiles a year. That is the problem that Japan has. And according to Kavoli, it's Ukraine that has the force generation capability advantage. Oh, and Russia is gaining more and more territory every day, step by step. More and more villages are coming under the control of the Russian military, and it does look like slowly the Ukraine front line is collapsing. But according to Kavoli, the force is with Elensky. Anyway, that is Kavoli. The war is going well, according to Kavoli. Unbelievable freaking stuff. This is the NATO, like one of NATO's top commanders. Ukraine has a great strategy. That's what he said. Ukraine has a great war strategy. Do tell, Kavoli, what is the war strategy? Please let us all know what this great war strategy is, and please don't talk about force generation capability. So CNN, let's get to CNN. They put out an article with the title, Facing Difficult Frontline Reality and the Prospect of Trump in the White House. Elensky hints at negotiations with Russia. CNN says Kiev is currently facing the double whammy of a difficult frontline situation and political uncertainty over the level of future support from Ukraine's closest ally. So, as I said, when talking about Kavoli's statement, the front line in Ukraine is collapsing. When it will finally collapse, I don't know. I cannot predict this, but it is collapsing. And Elensky is facing the double whammy of not only losing badly militarily, but according to CNN, he's got a very probable Trump administration coming after November 2024. And Trump in Michigan, at a campaign rally in Michigan, Trump basically said that the conflict in Ukraine will come to an end. He will put an end to the conflict in Ukraine. Bad news for Elensky, because if the conflict in Ukraine ends, well, Elensky is toast. He's going to have a lot of problem with the Banderites. And J.D. Vance took it even further. J.D. Vance said, I don't even care about Europe. That's pretty much what Vance said. I don't care about Ukraine. I don't care about Europe. It's their problem. They need to deal with it. They need to handle it. And that was J.D. Vance. So, yeah, CNN is saying that Elensky's getting very nervous about about the Trump administration, the Trump-Vance administration. And that is why, according to CNN, that Elensky is inviting Russia to the second peace summit. I will invite Russia to second peace summit. As if there was a first peace summit. There wasn't a peace summit. It was a disaster. The peace summit in Switzerland. It did not go well at all. No one really showed up. No one important showed up. Yeah, Macron showed up. Yeah, Olaf Scholz showed up. Kaja Kallas, she showed up. She's super duper important. She's going to be the new foreign minister of the European Union. She showed up. Duda showed up because he wanted to hug Elensky and get a whiff of that Elensky number 5 for one last time. Let me just get one last whiff of that Elensky number 5. That's why Duda showed up. But the important people didn't show up. Xi Jinping did not go. Modi, I don't think Modi went. No, Modi did not go. Not even Biden. Not even Professor Biden went. And Biden was right next door. He was like a couple of hours away from Switzerland. He decided not to show up. They sent Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris didn't even stay for the full 2 days. She stayed for 1 day, gave her speech, and then she was Audi 5000. She took off. Not even Kamala Harris decided to stay for the full peace summit event. So what are you talking about, second peace summit? How about a realistic, like a real first peace summit, and then maybe, just maybe, you can get to a second peace summit? But CNN is saying that Elensky is starting to talk about negotiations because he's getting very nervous about Trump. Very, very nervous about Trump. And the front lines, it's the double whammy, according to CNN. But it's really Trump. That's what's really worrying Elensky. He's playing for time. We talked about this in a video on the Duran. Elensky talking about a second peace summit is just a delaying tactic. He's just trying to play for time until he can figure out a way to pack up a couple suitcases full of cash and find somewhere to exile himself. Self-exile, I don't know. Anyway, that is CNN. And then you have the Boris Johnson article. Why I am more convinced than ever that Trump has the strength and bravery to save Ukraine and end this appalling war. In this article, Boris Johnson writes, if NATO is seen to have failed Ukraine, and if America is seen to have failed, then who will be confident that the alliance will stand up for its own members? That's the key paragraph from this article by Boris Johnson. Lavrov said the same thing 2 days ago, and Boris Johnson is just repeating it. He is confirming what Lavrov said. Lavrov said in New York at the UN that what really worries NATO, what all of this is about for NATO the business, think of NATO as a business, is that if they get spanked in Ukraine, and they are getting spanked in Ukraine, then the member states, which fund the NATO business, they're not going to fund it anymore. They're going to say, why should we earmark 3% of our budget to a NATO alliance that is useless, that cannot defeat Russia? 40 countries, 36 countries, however many countries are in NATO. All these countries combined, and they're getting spanked by Russia. Why should we give the alliance 3% of our GDP? And then the NATO business, losing its main revenue, its main source of revenue, the NATO business collapses. And that is what Boris Johnson is saying in this paragraph. But in the article, Boris Johnson, the first part of the article, it's divided in two parts. The first part of the article, Boris Johnson is kissing Trump's butt. That's the first part of the article. 4 or 5 paragraphs of Boris Johnson. He is just kissing Trump's butt. We're talking really, he's really like up in there, kissing Trump's butt, like in a big way kissing up to Trump. Trump is awesome. Trump is the best. Trump is the bravest. Trump is the smartest. Trump was the best president. I mean, he is kissing hard. And then the second part of the article is Boris Johnson. He's pushing his plan. If Trump becomes president, this is what I recommend Trump do. This is Boris Johnson's recommendation to Trump in order to get a victory in Ukraine and to get to a peace solution. Of course, Boris Johnson is the person who traveled to Kiev in March 2022 and sabotaged a real peace ceasefire deal. Now he's trying to rehabilitate himself, to what's the word that I'm looking for? Now Boris is trying to change the narrative, right? He's trying to change the narrative. Don't look at me as the guy that sabotaged a really good ceasefire deal. I'm talking a good ceasefire deal for Ukraine. Don't look at me as that guy. The guy that then caused 100,000, 200,000, millions of people to die, to be injured. Don't look at me as that guy. Look at me now as Boris Johnson, the man with a plan for victory and peace. That's what Boris Johnson is trying to do. And the second part of the article is Boris Johnson laying out his plan for Trump should he become president. And what does Boris Johnson suggest? Boris Johnson's plan, now get this. Boris Johnson, the genius. People say he's a genius, right? He was the mayor of London, former prime minister, the man that delivered Brexit. Boris Johnson, the genius. This is his plan, everybody. His plan for victory and peace is for Trump to show strength and resolve and to simply give Ukraine permission to use ATACMS missiles to hit pre-2014 Russian territory. Once Trump, according to Boris Johnson, gives Ukraine permission to hit pre-2014 Russian territory, this is the plan, Putin is going to run away. No joke. That is what Boris is saying in this article. Once Trump gives Ukraine the green light to use ATACMS missiles to hit pre-2014 territory in Russia, according to Boris Johnson, Putin folds. The Russian military runs away. Putin is forced to negotiate, according to Boris Johnson. He's forced to negotiate. Putin then, according to Boris Johnson, he then gives Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye, Kherson to Ukraine. And Boris Johnson says Ukraine goes back to February 24th, 2022 borders. And according to Boris Johnson, Ukraine is then ready to enter the EU and NATO. And it gets better. And Ukraine can then send 70,000 Ukrainian military to Europe so that they can protect Europe from Russia, because according to Boris Johnson, the Ukraine military now understands how to defeat the Russian military. So they're going to provide a military protection umbrella to Europe. Trump can then remove U.S. troops from Europe. So that's a win for Trump, because now Ukraine is providing the security to all of Europe. And Boris Johnson says what they could give to Putin is protection for Russian speakers in Ukraine. That's his plan, everybody. I think I've summarized it. Really well, actually. That's Boris Johnson's plan for victory and peace in Ukraine. This guy was the mayor of London, the prime minister of the UK. This guy, Boris Johnson. Yeah. Don't look at me as the guy that sabotaged a real ceasefire peace deal in 2022 that was super beneficial for Ukraine. Don't look at me as that guy. Don't look at me as the guy that sabotaged the peace deal and then we had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people dead or wounded for life. Don't look at me as that guy. Look at me as Boris Johnson, the man who will convince Trump when he becomes president, if and when he becomes president, to take Ukraine to victory and to peace. And it all starts with green-lighting ATACMS missile strikes into Russian territory. And that's when Putin folds. That's when he's done. That's it. It's over. It's game over, according to Boris Johnson. Game over, man. Game over. And then we have Klitschko. Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev, saying, you know what? Yeah, we've lost. That's pretty much what Klitschko's saying. He didn't say we lost, but he's saying we lost. He said that perhaps it's time for a referendum in Ukraine. And the question that should be asked is, for peace, we give up territory. Are people in Ukraine cool with that? That should be the referendum question. That's Klitschko. So that's Project Ukraine. That's an update on all the news from Project Ukraine. Let's now talk about the Biden loophole. The Biden loophole. Should he stay or should he go? That is the question. Biden is saying that once he's done defeating the coup, once he defeats the coup, Biden said that he is going to start campaigning next week. Next week he defeats the illness and then he's on the campaign trail. That is what Biden's staff is saying. Dr. Jill is going to be in Paris at the Olympic Games and raising money for the Biden campaign. But Democrat donors, Obama, Pelosi, Schumer, Schiff, Jeffries, everybody wants Biden to go. Everybody except the Clintons. Everybody except the Clintons. According to NBC News, Bill and Hillary, they are pushing for Biden to stay. They don't want Kamala. How about that? Now we understand how the clans, how the families, the oligarchies in the Democrat Party and the establishment of the United States, how they're structured, how they work. You have the Obama clan. They support Harris because Harris is Obama's person. So Obama, he's pushing for Harris. The Bidens, well, the Bidens, no one likes the Bidens, to be honest. No one likes the Bidens. The Obamas don't like the Bidens. The Clintons don't like the Bidens. And the Bidens want to stay because, well, you know, you got pardons, you got the grift. Dr. Jill loves being first lady. Hunter, well, Hunter, you know, Hunter's doing his thing. So the Bidens, they don't want to go, right? And then you have the Clintons, the Clinton clan. The Clinton clan, they despise the Obamas. They don't like the Bidens, but Hillary will never accept Harris possibly becoming president of the United States. Hillary will never accept that. And she will never accept Obama getting his way. And that is why the Clintons are pushing for Biden to stay. So that's what's going on there. But what's the loophole? I mentioned the Biden loophole. According to the New York Post, they have an article with the title, How This Loophole Could Lead to a Revolt Against Biden at the DNC. And there's someone who's in charge of the delegates for the Democrat Party named Carmack. And Carmack was speaking to other delegates. She held a Zoom call for other delegates. And according to the New York Post, Carmack said that there is a loophole for the delegates. If they feel, even though they've committed to Biden, if they feel that Biden is not the man, Biden is not the one to represent the Democrat Party, even though they're committed to him, they can back out. That is what this delegate said. Carmack also pointed to the part of the rule that states delegates reflect the sentiments of those who elected them, saying they could technically decide that Biden is no longer representative of the people's choice. You see, that's the loophole. That is the loophole. The delegates, yes, they are committed to Biden. It's done. They're committed to Biden as the candidate for the Democrat Party for president. But if they feel that for some reason the Biden that they committed to is not the same Biden, then they can uncommit. They can uncommit to the professor. That's the loophole. All kinds of treachery, huh? Game of Thrones, different families, all kinds of treachery and betrayal going on. Oh boy, get your popcorn, everybody. Get your popcorn, because I have a feeling that things are just going to get nasty. Yeah, that's the New York Post. That's what's going on with Biden, the saga that is Joe Biden. Let's do a clown world and we will wrap this Sunday evening video up. And kind of a clown world. I think it's a clown world. The foreign minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjártó, he called Borrell a child. He said EU's top diplomat Borrell is acting like a little child. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó has said he regards Borrell's maneuvering to derail a key policy meeting in Budapest childishness. That is what he said. Borrell's supposed to send a letter to EU foreign ministers for a Brussels meeting, mandatory Brussels foreign ministers meeting, on the 28th and the 29th of August. And they're scheduling this meeting at the same time that Budapest is going to have a meeting, because Hungary holds the presidency for the EU, and they're going to have a meeting on the 28th and the 29th of August. And in order to embarrass Orban, to embarrass Hungary, to sabotage their meeting, Borrell has decided that he's going to call a mandatory meeting in Brussels, so no one shows up in Budapest and everyone has to stay in Brussels. That's what Borrell is going to do. He is a child, and this is what Szijjártó said. The minister said that this did not come as a surprise, as Borrell has overseen the most unsuccessful period of European foreign policy ever over the past 5 years. Truth to that. If we had sent a letter like that, I probably would have sent him a sand shovel back, because this whole I'm calling all my friends together, or you are calling them together, is at the maturity level of a kindergarten, Szijjártó stated. The Hungarian diplomat called the need to engage in such petty behavior more regrettable than outrageous at a time when the EU is dealing with much bigger problems, apparently referring to the Ukraine conflict. Yeah, send him a shovel. Send him a shovel. Russia has a lot of shovels. According to the BBC, tons of shovels. maybe Russia can lend a shovel to Szijjártó to send to Borrell. But yeah, I said that the EU is a bunch of children. I said this 3-4 videos ago. And now Szijjártó is saying they are a bunch of children. They are, absolutely. The people that run the European Union are children. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDurant.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. Go to the Durant shop. Pick up a Durant t-shirt like the shirt I'm wearing today. And I'm also on Twitter. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Let's check out what's going on over here for just a couple of minutes. News is over. Let's see what's happening here.
Которые смешиваются призраки прошлого и ужасы настоящего и позора. Это просто сказочный рок изобилия. Диего все время занят. Работа, маска, дел, а я все время одна. Мексиканские шали и украшения. Мы едем в Нью-Йорк, новые заказы Диего. Детройт, снова Нью-Йорк. Персональная выставка. Диего! Если это не белые птицы, покрытые карью, если это не сон, кроме...